So I've watched Riverdale pretty much since it first came out, right around 2017, which was my freshman year of high school, and also how I heard about the show because one of my friends would not stop talking about it. They talked about this show ad nauseum. I mean, they were blowing so much smoke up this show's anus that I had to go check it out and see what the hype was all about. And oh boy, ever since then, I have watched every single episode on the week of release. I mean, every time an episode comes out, I'm kicked back in my recliner, shoving popcorn in my face with one hand, drinking root beer with the other, and then flipping to the CW channel with the third hand that I have. I mean, I am just there and ready each time an episode comes out. And it's not like this show is something spectacular and groundbreaking that'll blow your socks off every episode. It's just like, I've been watching for so long, I feel like it'd be a waste if I stopped now. And the only reason I'm making this video in the first place is because of how absolutely wacky this show gets. I mean, it gets to post-nut clarity levels of what the hell is going on when you watch this show. I mean, every time you start a new season, you'll feel like you just took a Schedule 1 drug, and none of this can be real. It's a real bumpy ride, and if you don't keep your hands and feet inside the car at all times, you will metaphorically fly out and die. So I'm going to be giving you a bit of cliff notes on each one of the seasons just to kind of help you build a baseline understanding for the show so you can really see just how deranged it becomes in only 6 seasons. So the whole show starts out as a very normal high school teen drama type of show, and I know, it's a guilty pleasure, don't judge me. But it just starts out with everybody pretty much wondering who's playing with whose wieners, and there's an obnoxious amount of high school stereotypes, like you got the douchebag jocks, the rich girl who thinks her farts smell good, which they might, and then the hot sassy rich girl, the cute girl next door, the mysterious boy, and the cool guy main character. And all the characters do have names, but who really cares, man? I'm just going to be giving you these cliff notes straight off the dome from my memory of how I remember the show. I do have a couple things wrote down, but most of this is just coming straight off the top. So the first season, it just kind of revolves around the death of Jason Blossom, which is Cheryl Blossom's twin brother. Cheryl Blossom is the snobby girl who I said thinks her farts smell good, which I wouldn't mind to sniff. But regardless of that, I don't really remember how that season ends, but it don't really matter because all we need to know for the first season is that Cheryl Blossom's brother, Jason Blossom, was killed on the lake. I think he got shot in the head or something. It showed his body when he was dead. Kind of cool. And then season 2 just kind of revolves around a serial killer going by the name the Black Hood, who's killing people he deems as sinners. So he's really doing God's work out here. He's a soldier of God. But spoiler alert for the Black Hood, it's Betty's dad. Betty is the girl next door to Archie, who is the main character, the stereotypical cool guy or whatever. He's like buff and stuff. So Betty's dad is the serial killer of season 2. They kind of reveal that at the end, I believe. But, you know, his name's Hal. Cool guy. And there's also some gang stuff that goes on with the Serpents, which is like the main gang of Riverdale, and Hiram Lodge is involved with the gangs and stuff. Hiram Lodge is Veronica's dad, which is the rich girl who moved in, who eventually gets with Archie, and they become like a power couple or whatever. And then Betty eventually gets with the mysterious boy Jughead, who is played by Cole Sprouse, one of the Sprouse twins. So as you can tell so far, it's some pretty tame stuff, you know, it's nothing to twist your titties about, but season 3 here is where we start to get a peep into the glory hole and see the absolute insanity that is waiting on the other side for us. And season 3 revolves around Griffins and Gargoyles, G&G, an obvious play on D&D, which is Dungeons and Dragons in real life, but unlike real life, people who play this game in the show end up doing some pretty insane stuff, like, oh, I don't know, starting a freaking cult that serves to please somebody called the Gargoyle King? And another cult is also forming at the same time, or it may have already been formed, but it's called The Farm. And a lot of people's parents, I believe Betty's mom, joined The Farm, and her sister, and all this kind of crazy stuff. A lot of people are hopping into the cult of The Farm. And guess what they do? They harvest freaking organs. So there's a lot of magic and monsters involved in this season. I don't know if it's real magic. I don't know if anything magical actually happens. I believe it was revealed to be like just some kind of like drugs that were inducing people into believing it was magic or something, because once again this season has a lot of like gang activity and drug moving and harem lodge because that's basically what every season does. They have that intertwined in there somehow, because harem lodge is always got to be the big bad, and then the gang's always got to be serving some kind of new drug. And now, season 4, Jughead gets accepted into this school called Stonewall Prep, where he's aspiring to be a rotter, so this is a good thing for him. But guess what? They try to kill him, and they try to frame it on Betty to make it look like she did it. They basically just, like, hand her the bloody rock they smacked him over the head with. They say, "Here, Betty, surprise, it's a present. The bloody rock to make it look like you killed your boyfriend. Haha, because you're crazy, and your dad's a serial killer, so they'll think you're a serial killer, too. Gotcha!" But guess what? Jughead didn't die because he's a main character. And then they end up beating the Stonewall Preppies in their own game. They turn it on them and somehow win in the end. But, you know, pretty normal season overall compared to the whole culty stuff going on last season. Also, a teacher jumped out the window and committed suicide in this season. That was pretty cool. Then they end off this season by hinting at all the characters' futures after they graduate high school. And then also as like the big cliffhanger, there's VHS tapes that are left on everybody's doorsteps, which is like hinting at another serial killer being in the midst, because I swear to God, man, every single season of Riverdale has to have gang violence, drugs, and a serial killer. That's like the 3 staples of this show. But yeah, that's pretty much the cliffhanger. VHS tapes of murders recreated of, like, I guess dark parts of people's lives. I don't really know how that played out, really. I just remember it was like the big cliffhanger of season 4. So now in season 5, there's a pretty big time skip. It's about 7 years into the future. Archie went to the army, and now he's came back to revive his dad's construction company, because his dad did pass away in one of the earlier seasons because the actor died in real life, if you didn't know that. Rest in peace to the guy who played Fred Andrews. I don't remember his name. But the company that Archie takes over for his dad, it's Andrews Construction, and it happens to be very close to the FBI office, which is now headed over by Betty, because Betty's a big FBI girl now. She went through the academy and whatever. Now she's a big shot in the FBI, solving those crimes. And I can't think of anything that rhymes with that. But since Archie and Betty are so close together working now, they start flirting with each other, blowing each other kisses and winking at each other and whatnot. You know, it's definitely hinting that a relationship is coming, because everybody broke up when they graduated. I don't really remember why. I think they just wanted to do different things. So they're like, yeah, we're all breaking up. All the power couples, we're done, baby. We're doing our own thing. But now they're all back in Riverdale. But now that everybody is coming back to Riverdale, there has to be another serial killer that comes back to town. And guess what? That serial killer is the trash bag killer, because he wears a trash bag on his head and kills his victims with, you guessed it, trash bags. It's a cool MO or whatever. Trash bags. Cheap and effective, I guess. And then 2 other people get together, Veronica and Reggie, and they decide to open up a casino. They have plans to open up a casino, revive Riverdale or something like that, because Veronica failed at making it big in New York. She was the self-proclaimed she-wolf of Wall Street. I don't know how that fell through. With a name like that, surely she just would have went to the top and became the big dog in Wall Street. But yeah, she failed at that because she, like, killed her husband or something. She was married. She killed him in self-defense, I believe. But in the finale of season 5, Betty and Archie are finally hooking up in Archie's bedroom, and they're rubbing fronts or whatever people do when they have sex, and they hear ticking under the bed, which sounds like an alarm clock at first, and then they look under the bed. Surprise, it's a bomb left by none other than Hiram Lodge. And I believe they end off the season there with like a cartoon SpongeBob explosion, like when they zoom out and Bikini Bottom basically gets nuked. That's what it looks like. Riverdale just, Archie's house goes up in flames. And now we finally made it to season 6, the moment I've been waiting for, where the show basically just says, screw it, I'm taking every drug possible, and then stripping nude and streaking down the highway, because I don't care anymore. I just don't care. So they start out season 6 with a Twilight Zone 5-episode run where they do a spin-off of Twilight Zone, where they kind of pick up where the bomb explosion left off, because the bomb explosion caused a ripple in time, sort of, and it sent these people to like an alternate dimension. So we're viewing an alternate dimension now. This is where the wacky stuff comes in. The tinfoil, you can put your tinfoil hats on now. We go to Riverdale, It's not Riverdale anymore, it's Rivervale, because the bomb switched timelines. And I gotta admit, I really do enjoy this 5-episode run. This newest season, as wacky as it may be, and as much sense as it may not make, it's very enjoyable. It's a very fun watch. It's definitely something new and inventive, rather than the mundane boringness that was Riverdale 5 seasons before. But yeah, they do like a Rod Serling. They have Jughead as Rod Serling being the narrator over Rivervale, but basically telling you what's going to happen in the episode in this Rob Serling way that's so iconic in the Twilight Zone. So yeah, just get ready for the wackiness you're about to witness, because episode 1 of season 6 revolves around the Harvest Festival, which is ran by Cheryl Blossom, I believe, because she's like now a full-on witch in Rivervale, because anything's possible in Rivervale. I mean, literally anything. Anything you can dream up is real. Magic actually exists. She has like some kind of wacky fertility doll that she gives to Betty, because Betty and Archie are trying to have a kid now, but they can't, because I believe Betty's like, she can't have kids. She's like infertile. Is that what that's called? So yeah, Betty and Archie are trying to have a kid. They realize there's a lot of weird stuff going on in the town. Everybody's acting kind of weird, kind of brainwashed. So they decide to investigate, and whoop-de-doo, they have a great idea. Let's split up and investigate. So Betty goes off. She gets brainwashed. Yep, she gets brainwashed. So now everybody in the town is under Cheryl's spell, I guess is the best way to describe that. And they're all turning on Archie, because Archie isn't under her brainwashing. And guess what they do to Archie? They pretty much crucify the man. They kill him. They kill Archie, the main character. They sacrifice Archie. This whole first episode is just very reminiscent of Midsummer, because Betty gets dubbed the Harvest Queen. And it's just like really weird and culty in that same manner. That's the best thing I can just like relate it to if you haven't seen this Riverdale stuff. And I remember this really uncomfortable scene where Betty is feeding Archie the pie. She like scoops it out with her finger and like puts it in front of his mouth, and he like really seductively, really weirdly sucks on her fingers and eats the pie. And it just made me kind of turned on, but also cringe a bit. And yeah, Archie is actually dead. This isn't no fake death kind of thing. In this 5-episode series here in Rivervale, inside Rivervale, Archie's dead. Dead. Gone. Never coming back in Rivervale. This didn't happen in Riverdale though, so it's not like the main story. It's not the main universe characters. It's alternate universe characters. And Archie just got sacrificed. And then in the second episode, Reggie's basically in a relationship with his car, like that one dude who had sex with the tailpipe of his car and said that he was married to it or whatever. It's pretty much Reggie in this episode. He's giving the car more attention than Veronica. Veronica gets mad, whatever, does something to the car, and then she buys him a new one because she feels bad about it, because he says something about, I don't know, abuse in his childhood. And then also there's this other weird subplot with, what's her name's baby? I don't remember her name. There's a baby, and La Llorona comes in and tries to take the baby or something. I don't know. There's a lot of craziness going on in this episode. It's too much. It really is hard to portray in words just how wacky these episodes are. I mean, you really just need to watch them for yourselves to understand, because I cannot get out a full summary in just a couple sentences. I would literally have to read the script of each episode for you to understand what's going on, because there's so much stuff. So much insanity in these episodes. These 5 Twilight Zone-esque episodes are the craziest. It's the craziest little mini run in any TV series I've ever seen before. It's very enjoyable, like I said, but also very crazy, very wild, very off, like it's off topic, because the normal Riverdale show is just like this teen drama with some cults, some sort of magic, kind of, and then drugs, gangs, all this kind of stuff. Just teen drama, high school drama, and then they graduate or whatever. And now they're just full on the wild side, man. They said, screw it, everything out the window. What you thought you knew, you don't know, because this is Rivervale, baby. We're in the Twilight Zone. Now anything can happen. But the episode 2 of Riverdale ends off with Tony, whose baby has been like attempted to be kidnapped by La Llorona. I don't remember if it's actually La Llorona, but it's pretty much La Llorona. I don't know how you say that either. The Spanish ghost lady that comes and takes babies. She trades her baby's position for her soul. So she says, take my soul instead of my baby's soul, and then you'll be satisfied, right? So she becomes La Llorona, so her baby can live on. And that's how episode 2 ends. as wacky as ever, and it keeps getting wackier for 3 more episodes. And now episode 3 is called Mr. Soffer, and the main theme of this episode is that Veronica and Reggie finally launch up their casino, they get everything running, and then a special guest comes in who nobody knows. But he's like I think he's a redhead, so he's kind of weird, no one likes him. Redhead, no one likes redheads. But he comes in, he says he's Mr. Soffer. Turns out to be the devil. He makes some deals with people in exchange for their souls. He takes some souls. Reggie somehow bets Veronica's soul to the devil, and he comes to take Veronica's soul, but then Veronica somehow does a double back and then ends up getting Reggie's soul taken from the devil takes his soul instead. So in the end, the devil takes Reggie's soul and Veronica's safe. It's like a Scooby-Doo chase pretty much between those two of whose soul's gonna get taken, but it ends up being Reggie in the end. Veronica wins, and yeah, Reggie's soul gets taken, and then the devil says he'll be back. That's the actual devil, by the way, that shows up in Riverdale. He says he'll be back soon to, I don't know, play with Veronica again or something weird. So after the devil takes Reggie's soul, after Veronica doubles back on him, grabs his wiener, pulls it between his legs, and like flips him upside down or whatever, he gets his soul taken. I think he dies or something, disappears. I don't really know what happens when he takes their souls. I don't. He does a lot of deals though. A lot of people do deals with the devil. And then the devil comes to take Pop's soul, which Pop's is like the guy who runs the most popular restaurant in town. He comes to collect his soul. So he's the lady who is Pop's granddaughter, says, "Hey, devil, let's have a milkshake to remember Pop by. It's my final wish before you take Pop to go into the afterlife." But they spock the devil's milkshake with tears from the Virgin Mary that she shed at the cross when Jesus was crucified. And that, like, kind of kills the devil. So Pop's soul is now safe because they put the real tears of the Virgin Mary that, I don't know how she came across that. They were bottled for hundreds of years, thousands of years, since she cried at the cross when Jesus was crucified. But they somehow got their hands on those Virgin Mary tears that they put into his milkshake. And yeah, goodbye, devil. Goodbye, Mr. Soffer. You drank the tears of the Virgin Mary. This video is definitely not going to be good. It's just going to be me rambling like a lunatic. The ramblings of a lunatic about a TV show that nobody cares about.
And what we do with that.
But episode 4, rather, the witching hours. Man, I'm so burpy right now. It's called The Witching Hours, and it's basically like a throwback to the olden times of Cheryl's ancestors, how they burned her at the stake for being a witch. I don't really care about this episode. Kind of sucked. But then the last episode in the series is episode 5 called The Jughead Paradox. So this final episode here, Jughead, he goes between quantum realms, and they're trying to figure out how to get back to the main reality. They're trying to fix everything because Riverdale supposedly isn't supposed to exist. The bomb created it. And him and Betty and Archie are trying to solve the mathematical formula. They're trying to figure out how they can get everybody back to the main reality. Basically, they're trying to eliminate Riverdale, eliminate the Riverdale timeline, and trying to make Riverdale the only one that exists to restore the timeline. Kind of like the TVA stuff with the Loki series. This is like a branched reality that isn't supposed to exist, so they're trying to eliminate it. And Jughead comes across the Archie comics, which is what the show is based on, and he starts reading through them and realizes it's stories of their lives and also the lives of Riverdale, because that's what the comics are called. And they're like, huh, these are called Riverdale, and it has us as characters, and we live in Riverdale. What an odd coinkydink. So he starts talking to people, making the connections, and then so on and so forth. And then somehow Reggie is back, and then also another Reggie appears. So there's like a Reggie 1 and Reggie 2, and they're fighting over Veronica. And Veronica's like, why don't we just have a 3-way? You guys can like hit each hole and I'll enjoy it. And they're like, nah, I want you to myself. And then the other one's like, no, I want you to myself. And they basically beat each other up. And then in the end, they actually kill each other. They literally kill each other, and they both bleed out on the floor fighting over Veronica. Yep. That's how you deal with a duplicate situation right there. I believe that's from like the Mandela catalog. The duplicates, your clone. Just kill each other. Solve the problem. And then at the main end of the episode, Archie and Betty are about to get married, and Archie and Betty are supposedly in on getting Riverdale back they're supposed to like explode the bomb under the bed again with Betty and Archie on top of it to like recreate the timeline, recreate the explosion that will send them back to Riverdale and erase Riverdale. But guess what? Archie doesn't want to do that. He tries to foil the plan. He tries to be the villain. He's scheming. He wants to keep this timeline because this timeline's good and the other timeline's bad. But then Jughead too, because there's two of Jugheads now, he comes in and like knocks Archie out, and then Jughead and Betty say, oh, we're going to go up on the bed and kiss and then have the bed explode with us on it, and that'll also fix the timeline. But guess what? Archie wakes up from being knocked out right when that's about to happen. So they have to try like keep him out. It's like the Shining situation. He's trying to break the door down. But right before Archie breaks in and says, here's Archie, they made some kind of deal. Jughead won from the river. I believe Jughead from the Riverdale timeline has to stay in like this writer's room and just write the story forever so that peace can be, he basically has to be God. He has to write out what people do and how they act and all that kind of stuff and what's happening. He pretty much becomes God. Whatever he types on the typewriter becomes reality. And that's how he saves everybody. And then the ending, I believe, there's like this big party gathering and everybody's there. All the main characters are there, and then they join him at the table, and they don't remember any of the deals they made with Jughead to make everything go back to normal. They still have the Archie Riverdale comics for some reason, but he forgets about them conveniently when they move into their apartment together. Jughead and his girlfriend, I forget her name. And then at the end of the last episode, episode 5, we cut back to where the season finale of 4 left off, or yeah, the season finale of episode 4 when the bomb exploded. They get a phone call. Instead of laying on the bed while the bomb explodes, they get a phone call that says, get out of the house, Betty, get out of the house. And it's Jughead calling, telling them to get out of the house. They get out of the house explodes, nobody dies, therefore Riverdale is restored. And now in the most recent episode, which is episode 6 of season 6, after the Riverdale events, Riverdale's back to normal and whatever, but it's not back to normal because people are getting like superpowers now. Betty can sense people's evil auras, like she can see what, like if they're getting mad, they'll like get surrounded in red, so she can like see what people are feeling. Pretty much that's her superpower. And then Archie has the superpower of like invulnerability. He's super strong. He breaks a knife over his hand. He's basically becoming Superman, pretty much, just minus the laser vision. And then the only other person exhibiting superpowers at the current moment is Jughead. And Jughead is like, I don't even know if you can really call it a superpower. He's going deaf. Like he's lost hearing in both of his ears. I don't know if they're going to turn that to a superpower or not. Like he's going to get like ultra hearing or something, or ultra vision. He's just going deaf. And everyone else is pretty much just normal. But Betty and Archie are getting powers. They tell each other about it. Archie breaks the knife, like I said. So yeah, that is where the story is at. People are getting superpowers in Riverdale now. We started off as just a typical teen high school drama. And now we're at superpowers. So that's a crazy, wacky occurrence of events, and that's just what I wanted to talk about. I thought that was very funny, very interesting, and it's something I've invested a lot of time in watching this show, so maybe you found it interesting. Maybe you didn't even watch this video or didn't watch this far, but if you are, and if you did watch this, thank you. You're beautiful, and I'm very thankful for you watching the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Maybe it's not as rambly as this one. Hopefully not. Hopefully it's more enjoyable, more to the point. But yeah, I'll catch you next time. Peace out.